Good evening, and thank you all for coming. The May 3rd, 2022 meeting of the Monroe County Legislative District Revision Commission will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Colby.
Here.
Mr. Colby is present. Chairwoman Lamar.
Here.
Chairwoman Lamar is present. Ms. Nicolay.
Here.
Ms. Nicolay is present. Ms. Ortiz.
Here.
Ms. Ortiz is present, and Ms. Roman.
Here.
Ms. Roman is present.
Should they close that door?
Yes, please. Thank you. I would like to welcome everyone in attendance this evening and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As you may know, this is the second of 6 public meetings for public input of the Redistricting Commission. The Commission will consider the public comments prior to releasing the proposed changes in the boundaries of the legislative districts. The redistricting plan will be adopted as a local law, and the public will have the opportunity to comment on the proposed plan as part of the official public hearing in the adoption of the local law. I would also like you to know that the law authorizing the new district boundaries is subject to a permissive referendum. I would like to thank Commissioner Ortiz and Commissioner Nicolay for compiling all the recommendations for our vendors, ArcBridge. They have provided the Commission with a draft map for the county legislative districts. The draft map is available to view at monroecounty.redistricting.com, as well as in person at the 6 public input sessions. I would now like for the clerk to proceed with calling our public speakers forward to address the Commission.
We had 2 people register to speak, so we'll start with them first. Our first speaker is Terrence Schnur. I said that right? And you can come forward and just, there you go.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'll be submitting written comments listing several ways I believe this proposal is at odds with the law, but I'll focus tonight on the most glaring flaw. The root of all its flaws is, as you can see, it relies excessively on the existing lines. The existing lines didn't have to obey a 2021 law, of course, but that doesn't mean that a near clone is legal now. The most obvious way in which this map is at odds with the law is its lack of compact districts. The law explicitly requires prioritizing compactness over all considerations except population parity, fairness to minority voters, and contiguity. Academics have several ways of quantifying compactness, but the eyeball test works here. Anyone can look at the 20th and 26th districts among several others and cannot honestly call them compact. Perfect compactness can't be achieved, but the 2011 plan sacrificed compactness in a flagrant attempt to favor the Republican Party and disfavor specific Democratic candidates. By retaining features of the old map that served that function and that purpose, the new map adopts that purpose. Please come up with a new draft that is focused on following the law rather than simply tweaking an old gerrymander. Thank you.
I forgot to say before we started that we have a 3-minute time limit. Try to adhere to the 3-minute time limit. That's up to the president's discretion. So, the next speaker is Lashana Boose.
Greetings, Commission. The Rochester Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated firmly asserts its position on the redistricting process for the city of Rochester and Monroe County. We, the members, are committed to ensuring a fair and ethical process. We thank Monroe County Legislature President, the Honorable Sabrina Lamar, for making this an open process where both city and suburban residents can share their testimony. It is known that redistricting is a point of contention and great national concern, specifically in New York. If conducted properly and transparently, redistricting can be fair and equitable. We all know that redistricting is the process of drawing lines of districts so communities can elect legislators that are representative of the people. These lines drawn should be done so that it brings neighborhoods and communities of interest together and not apart. The current lines within Monroe County are split down the middle of individual streets and do not use natural dividers within the city of Rochester. This legislative body must not endure this type of line drawing, which strategically divides neighborhoods and takes away their ability to unite effectively, advocate for community needs, and communities need to be brought back together. It can result in this type of scenario, where neighbors literally across the street from each other would have to address and appeal to more than one legislator for the same concern. Furthermore, legislators who do not even live in the neighborhood may not understand or prioritize the challenges of the entire community in which they represent. This type of scenario creates a situation where the needs of specific neighborhoods will be ignored for another 10 years. Therefore, perpetuating a continued cycle of inequity in representation and disenfranchising the vote of thousands of voters in this community. We, the members of Rochester Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, propose a common sense and equitable approach to redistricting. The lines should pass a litmus test, such as, will the lines geographically bring neighbors together or will they split them apart? Are the lines drawn continuous or are they jagged, excluding a specific group or community members, i.e. cracking or packing? Case in point, when we look at the legislative districts for 22 and 29, which is on the east side, or 26 and 28, which are on the northwest side, depending on which side you live, which side of the street you live on, will determine your assigned legislative district. This is absolutely unacceptable and confusing for many of the residents and certainly does not pass the proposed litmus test. These maps should be drawn to preserve communities by keeping them together so the people can elect officials that effectively represent them. It is our belief that towns and villages should not be broken up and city residents should be kept with city residents. It is known that the demographics and issues of these residents are completely different, and combining them into a district dilutes any potential issues of either group. If this legislative body does not address these simple issues, it will perpetuate a system that continues to dilute the voting bloc of citizens within the city of Rochester. Also, it will impede the people's right to fairly participate in the democratic process of electing candidates from their community who will address their needs. This is a call of action for the Monroe County Redistricting Commission to do what is right and draw lines that no longer favor the incumbents or other politics as usual, but honor and restore the voting power back to the people of Monroe County, and it will ensure that all voices count, but count equally. Thank you.
That was the last of our registered speakers. Is there anyone that wishes to address the
Yes, I do.
commission? Please step forward. And state your name, please.
My name is Bruce Mellon. I live in 114 Edgemont Road in Upper Mount Hope neighborhood. I'm also a leader of one of the neighborhood groups. Hello again. I am disappointed in what I'm seeing tonight. It doesn't look too much like the previous maps. I fully agree with the previous speakers, both of them. Looking at the map here, 24 is diluted with suburban voters. They're not keeping together communities of interest. 23, the same. 26, the same. There really should only be 8 districts within the area because the population of Rochester works out to be very evenly with respect to having just 8 districts and not have any district lines cross city lines. You're breaking up communities of common interest. In this neighborhood here, down through my section, the South Wedge is in 3 different legislative districts. It doesn't work. It may have been the past, but it's a nightmare. having to deal with 3 legislators. You really need to have neighborhoods all within the same boundary. Look at the neighborhood maps, please. There are maps, we published them. Not the cities necessarily, it's not up to date, but there are maps out there that have neighborhoods and where the neighborhoods are. Look at them carefully. If you don't understand the map that we provided the district before, let me know. I'll be glad to work with you on understanding where the neighborhoods are and where not to split them up. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have an easy way to define, and if you don't, we can talk later, the South Wedge neighborhood? Because I know that was one of the things we tried and we couldn't find a real clear.
Definition.
I mean, I know where the South Wedge is, but I
Okay.
don't know exactly.
We did
what-
supply a map. It was on Google Maps. It's a shared link.
Would you share it
it's-
again with me?
Sure.
Please? Okay.
I believe it's been shared with the Redistricting Commission recently even.
Okay.
So if you want to share that with her, or I can share it with you
I'll
as
check
well.
and see my,
Do you know who you emailed the link to or where?
I believe I was provided with the map,
Oh, okay.
and I submitted it to ArcBridge, the folks that drafted
Yes.
the maps.
Okay.
I'd be glad to work with whomever. On
Yeah, I would like
on
to see
this
what you
map.
submitted.
It's the map that, I mean, I showed everyone on the
No,
commission the
the
map.
Yeah.
map is somewhat
When he's talking about
complicated.
neighborhood
There are
associations
like
versus districts.
50 different neighborhoods in the area. I haven't got complete information on the mapping of each of the neighborhoods, but I have a
Yeah,
very
if you
good
can send
sense
us
of where they
neighborhood
are.
associations, I would
And I've got many of them mapped. I do have a map of the South Wedge where there don't seem to be any conflicting boundaries, because neighborhoods do have conflicting boundaries at times. But it's basically anything outside the inner loop, east of the river, and basically south of the expressway.
Can I give you this email address if you can send
Sure.
it again? Then I'll make sure I'll get it.
Not
from
a
Dave.
problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is that the redistricting email?
yeah. When I get it, I'll forward it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers?
You knew I would. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Dave Garrison. I live in Greece. I'd like to talk about one of the regions, but first a little housekeeping. Last evening, we talked about some of the shortcomings, and I see overnight some of those things have been fixed, so thank you. The maps that ArcBridge has put up are now easier to look at. They're not perfect, but they're better. That's a pass. On the fail side, the Thursday session, the information on that is still not complete. ArcBridge has to be announced on their page, and on the Monroe County page, there's a password and a identifying number for the Zoom link. There's nothing in there about the chamber being open for the public to attend. Third thing, I don't know if this is pass or fail. Where are we with people that email comments? Are we sharing those with the public or not? I don't know why they wouldn't be shared, but so far this body has chosen not to do that. So let me talk about one of the areas. It's Irondequoit. And Legislator Colby, I think this will be of particular interest to you. I know you've been in the sessions I've attended before. You talk about the importance of school districts as a community of interest. When we talked about Spencerport last night, there was discussion about East Rochester and Fairport and how a school district is an important community of interest. That's where PTAs are, that's where kids are, that's where people make connections with their neighbors. And let's look at this place here. Look on this map. Irondequoit. Anybody here from Irondequoit tonight? Irondequoit is a place, like a lot of places in Monroe County, where they think of themselves as East Siders and West Siders. There's a school district called the East Irondequoit School District, and the other district is called the West Irondequoit District. There's a West Irondequoit High School and an East Irondequoit High School. There are 5 fire districts in Irondequoit. They're divided east and west. Now let's look at the county legislature map. By the way, this is a leftover. In 2011, we had one party that had a big majority, and they had carte blanche, unlike this body, who's doing a good job, I think, of trying to listen to the public. Back then, it was like, here's the map, take it or leave it, and we're going to draw it to our own advantage.
And we had until 2010 an east-west district in Irondequoit, and they jumbled up a lot of things in 2011. You know, where I live here in District 6, we used to have a district next to it called 5. That's down here now. That got moved in 2011. And the other thing that happened in 2011 is that we went from east-west in Irondequoit, the way the folks who live there think of themselves, the way they go to school. We divided it north and south. That was in 2011. I don't understand why we are perpetuating that in 2022. I think that's an item to consider. Thank you very much. Hope to give you some passes next time I see you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
I saw Michael Slade walking in, so.
Okay.
maybe I saw him walking in, so I'm assuming if he's not.
He wants
If
to.
he's coming here.
I might have to open the door for him.
Yes.
I saw him in there, so.
You gotta sign in and write notes and sign.
He was the.
I just want to give, he usually wants to speak, so I want to give him a few minutes. I know he has a sign in at the door,
Yeah.
so if that's okay with everyone. In the meantime, is there anyone else who had any comments? I believe if you're curious about where your street is on the new maps, this gentleman over here will look it up for you and show you exactly what district you're currently in and where you will be according to this draft map.
Would you like to address us?
Yes.
We waited for you.
We waited for you.
You know me, Mike Slade,
You can come right up to the front.
12
Just
Trailwood Circle, Rochester, which is actually Pittsford. A little different take from last night. If you look at the state law and the county law on redistricting, there are a couple of important criteria. Contiguous districts, compactness, and population. Nowhere does it talk about preserving old districts, core of old districts, which is code for keeping the legislators happy that they'll be in their own districts. Nowhere does the law talk about that. It talks about compactness. If in talking to knowledgeable people last night after the meeting, we were looking at District 26. Why is it so weird? This long, skinny thing all the way up. It's certainly not compact. If you want to calculate compactness, compactness is the minimum perimeter for the same area. If you go back to maybe third grade math, it turns out that that's a circle. We don't deal in circles. We deal in rectangles. The minimum perimeter for the same area in a rectangle is a square. If you have a 4x5 square, which is an area of 20, its perimeter is 18. If you make that a 2x10, which area is still 20, what is its, don't take out your calculator yet. It's 10 plus 10 is 20 plus 4 plus 4, 2 plus 2 is 24 compared to the square. So compactness is really important. In terms of these districts, they're crazy. They're odd shapes. Maybe it goes back in the city to the old wards, which would be last in existence in the 1961 redistricting. Clearly by 1971, when one person, one vote came in, it was no longer using the ward system. Now, maybe if I look around, I'm one of the few people old enough to remember that. I'm not sure I'll be around for the next redistricting. We really need to look at what compactness would do and what it is. And it's pretty easy. We should ask Arkbridge to go back and draw up a dummy set of districts strictly on the basis of compactness. They don't have to be exact in population. Is Vince here? Vince said last night, Vince Felder, he was talking about that, there he is. He was talking about the old rule where it was plus or minus 5%, was it?
10.
10. That would give us a lot more freedom. We really need to go back and find what would compactness do. There are so many strange shaped districts, of which 26 is the most. And I'm getting so old and some frail that I don't know what to do with some spare cash. Maybe I can find an attorney who'd like to sue the county on the basis of lack of compactness. Gerrymandering doesn't work, because population isn't, but compactness, that's novel. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? There being none, this concludes the public hearing. I would like to thank everyone for their participation in this redistricting process on behalf of the members of this commission this evening. I would also like to thank the Trenton and Pamela Jackson Rec Center staff for their hospitality. The next meeting for public input is scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday, May 4th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.